call our meeting to order. At this time, the Westborough Senior Center Council, would you all please stand and we will salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And this meeting is being recorded by Westborough Television. And at this time, I would like to ask Joel for his presentation.
Oh, is it on?
Well, it was on.
Was it?
It's sorry.
Here we go.
Oh.
We have a
Okay.
picture.
I didn't really come to do a presentation. I have one, but I thought that we might be able to hear from you what your vision of the senior center is, what you would like to see, what you'd like not to see, what the aspirations are, what the concerns might be about joining together with the recreation department on one level and you on another level. I could wax rhapsodically about the advantages, but you might not believe me, so I think I want to hear you first. And then I
Okay.
can show you where we are in the process and what we're doing, because I do think no matter what you say, good or bad about things, the process is very transparent, and with the town administration, we have a way of going through this project of turning over every stone and presenting the data to the folks like you to make a right decision. So we're not really here we don't have an axe to grind. We're really trying to understand what your thoughts are. And I'm
Right.
happy to show you more things and examples for the way other people have done it, but
And
I'd
I
like to
will
hear you
share
first.
with you that in preparation for going forward with the plans, we were able to tour 4 other senior centers in this area. And I think we all took notes, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we want, what we don't want. So that being said, I feel strongly that we have an excellent senior center. It's just too small. There are so many more things that we can offer to our seniors, and that is what we are most excited about, is the ability to have more room, more parking, more options to offer to our seniors. So that being said, shall we go around? And I would hope that you all have your notes. What were some of the things that we saw at other senior centers that we would like, hopefully, to see in our new facility? We know we have lots of parking. We did see one center where the folks were coming in to pick up from the food pantry. I personally would prefer that that not be part of our new facility. I think that people coming in for food pantry should be able to maintain their dignity, and to have people parading through and so forth I had an issue with that. We do have a nice library where we are. It would be nice to expand on that. And I think that many of our seniors are looking forward to being able to take advantage of more of the exercise classes, the use of the pool, and the area to continue with some of the special programs that we run. We have a fair coming up. The holidays are coming. That's a happy, busy time, and we need plenty of storage, and we may need a somewhat bigger kitchen than what we have right now. But that being said, I would like to have everybody else speak to what their observations were.
Well, I was away when you had the tour, so I don't have the benefit of that. But I do have a list of things that I put together earlier in the year, mostly having to do with issues with the current senior center and why, we want something different. So I'm just going to, they're kind of random, so I'll just
Perfect.
run down a few of these notes. Speaking about handicap parking, one of my biggest gripes, for example, is that the handicap parking at the current senior center is detached from the building, so that people getting out of their walkers in the handicap area then have to cross traffic of the other cars coming into the facility. I know that we have several spots already adjacent to the building here, at the new building. I think there's only 2 in the front, and there might be 2 on the side, but they're all quite a distance from where I believe the main entrance is going to be. So that was one of my points. I've talked about the entrance. We've always had issues in our current entrance. It has just a single opening. And so come the winter and the summer, you open those doors and cold air comes in the winter, hot air or cold air goes out, air conditioning goes out. It needs a airlock kind of a mechanism, and I would hope that we could do something of that nature. What I call the large activity room. We have one very large activity room, and it satisfies most of the large activities that we have. But when we have multiple activities, like one day it's going to be, if we're going to use it for one big large luncheon or something, well, you have to set up the day before. So it kind of kills 2 days worth of normal activities that we would normally use that day for. So we need additional space so that we can try to eliminate some of the disruption caused by some of the occasional larger events. In addition to that, that large room does have an ability to be split up. But it's a single set of curtains that divides the room in half. Sound is still, it's not that, that sound absorbing to the point where it really separates. So you can't really have 2 different things going on. Certainly from a sound system point of view, the divisions between the 2 halves of that room, and there's usually other smaller activities going on the side, and there's no separation of those either. So the large area needs better way of being broken up into areas that can be used independently. Storage in that room is also a big problem in my mind. You take pictures, when we take pictures of some of the activities going on, all you see in the background is other, storage. You see the racks of chairs, you see tables. Way in the back corner, there's custodian carts and even a floor cleaner. And it's just, it's there. You can't block it off because there's an emergency escape door in the back. It needs to be accessible. And yet, it doesn't look very nice, very pleasing. Storage as a whole in the building is very lacking, I think. I mean, and lacking in an appropriate way. The original architect must have thought that taking one whole wall and making closets out of it in that large room was a very efficient use of space, and it is. However, it eliminated all the windows on that side of the building, so there's no real daylight coming in on that side. And every time there's we need to get into those closets, we're disrupting an activity that's going on. I had to do it this morning. I was checking on status because storage in the kitchen is non-existent, and our pantry is in the back of the large room. And I had to go down there and check on the status of our pantry for a meal tomorrow. And I had to open these doors, they're big, huge sliding doors that make a heck of a racket, as the people taking the classes can attest to. So I try not to be disruptive personally, but when you open those doors and they make that noise, you just, not much you can do. So storage in general, in that room and in other rooms. There's a similar problem in our crafts room. It's a good size room for the smaller activities. But again, the storage that's in there is against the wall, under, in that case, a very high window. And to get to it, you have to go in and disrupt any activity that's going on. We've tried, at this point, we don't do that much because we've taken everything out of there that we would normally use for non-setup kind of activities, but it still happens on occasion. So storage in general, I think the way it's laid out here is not good. So it's a good example of what we don't want, but I can't tell you, exactly what would be needed. Let's see. I thought, again, just a comment, we have a large activity room at one end of the building.
Yep.
The only multi-person bathrooms are at the completely opposite end of the building. There are handicap bathrooms closer to the room, but again, seemed like another very odd situation. You put all the people at that end of the building for an activity, but you put the multi-person bathroom as far away as you can. Again, it was not a very well thought out setup there. And again, an example of what probably would not want to do. We talked about the kitchen. We have a good-sized kitchen for the kind of activities that we do there now. But again, pantry storage is lacking. And it's outside, and like I say, it's pretty far down the other end of the room, and so that's a bit of a nuisance. But as people have gone to other senior centers, one of the things that we'd like to have is an area where there could be an ongoing cafe, where folks could have a coffee, have a snack shop, something that could be all-day kind of activity, lunch possibly, as they do in Northborough and other facilities like that. That, I think, would require sort of a separate area from the main kitchen. I mean, not that they can't use the main kitchen, but we're talking about something that would probably be a little different than that.
Well, that is a trend. You're not the first person to, it's a really good comment about setting up the multipurpose room. For a lunch one day, it absorbs the room for 2 days. So what Falmouth had the great idea, they didn't originally think it through this way, but they built this cafe and it opens up to the outdoor patio space. And the cafe is big enough so that their daily meals and the kitchen that's on the lower left on my side can serve sandwiches and the congregate meals to the cafe, and it doesn't bother the multipurpose room. So it's doing exactly what you suggested. That's an 800 square foot space that's now freeing up a 2,000 square foot room for some other function. So it's very efficient. And then that kitchen, as you said, the rooms that support the kitchen are of equal size to the kitchen. So the pantry, if you have a walk-in freezer, which we hadn't heard you want, but all those rooms can be equal to the size of the kitchen, which can be also an instructional kitchen if you want it to be. It can be a program space. So what you're saying is
Okay.
right on, yeah.
That leads, though, to just a general question. I mean, what are there must be some general limitations on what we can and can't do in this. Like, you show the cafe opening up with these big wide windows out to a courtyard. I mean, we got 3 walls that are solid block walls. Only the front has glass or the ability, I think, to have glass facade. What are the general major restrictions that we probably can't do anything about?
Well, I know what the building structural restrictions are. I don't know what the general plaza restrictions are, if they have covenants that say you can or you can't add windows to that building. I don't know. That would be another question. But that type of building does allow for you to open up that perimeter wall and put more windows in it without a big problem, because the steel beams that are carrying the building are independent of the wall, so that wall can get holes in it. So we are hoping that we'll be talking to the right people in town to find out if that shopping center rules will allow windows to be added to those side walls. Be very helpful. The second floor is not short of windows, it's the first floor, yeah.
Right. And it's the first floor that we're really addressing here, I think, today. On the kitchen, the other comment that because the senior center is the focal point for the Meals on Wheels program, we have at noontime, we have a lot of volunteers coming in to pick up their distribution and go out. The current setup, again, just because there is an extra access door to the kitchen, but it's just the way it's set up, it's not really suitable to have people come in. So people come in the back, what we call the back door, and again, they come in to go to the kitchen to get their assignments and go out. But in doing so, and especially in the winter when it's freezing outside and that door, again, without an airlock, has to be opened, it's very disruptive of anything that's going on in that room, whether it's a half room or a full room activity that's going on in there. And so the kitchen access for the purpose of serving our volunteers there is also something that has to be designed in a way that would be non-disruptive to whatever else is, the activities that are going on.
We did talk a lot about Meals on Wheels with the previous meeting. The thought that we had in other projects is like on this lower image where the cursor, you can't see it. In the back corner is a separate counter for the Meals and Wheels to set up so that they're not taking over the whole middle of the kitchen that might be setting up a breakfast or a lunch program. So you, and then that on the lower left here,
Yeah.
here left.
Yeah, yeah,
It's in the back corner, and so then there's a vestibule, and it takes you to the back door
okay.
and out. And if Meals and Wheels deliveries want to arrive in the morning when the chef isn't there, there's a airlock, and they can leave their stuff in the airlock, and you don't have to have your chef there at 6:30 if you don't want to. So I think that what we're finding is the Meals and Wheels is such a, well, after the pandemic, it's really gotten a new
Yep.
lease on life, and it's really something to be designed into the kitchen. Because the other thing the kitchen is going to hopefully be used for is a facility for a shelter in cold weather or power outages, emergencies. So you want to be able to have enough of a commercial kitchen to accommodate these other programs.
Excellent. Let's see, just a couple more items. I guess, again, this is still in the storage discussion. Just, again, when we have the large events, we need a lot more tables and a lot more chairs, and they're currently just, up against the wall right now. Again, it'd be nice if there was some way to put them sort of out of sight in some way.
Yeah.
Sorry. So that they would not be, not be so unsightly during the normal operation of the facility. Our nurse's office and our Shine counselor's office, those are shared right now, and it's too small for either. Right now, if two people go in to be visited by the nurse, one of them has to sit on the examining table. I mean, it's just not a very, we just need a bigger area for that. Whether they could still continue to be shared with the Shine counselor, I don't know. That's a possibility still. We have, and I use the word loosely, a computer room that is a little nook off of our library where there is a computer with a printer, and it is usable, but again, it's so cramped and such a awkward spot. It really can't be used for much else, and I know a lot of other facilities do have computer rooms, education rooms. I'm not quite sure, exactly, but a room where there could be multiple computer systems set up for training or for personal use. And I think that's something we've mentioned over the years as something else that eventually we'd like to be able to offer a little bit more of. And we really don't have anything there that's that would fit that need. And smaller conference rooms, I think in the office area, for example, I mean, the staff needs the ability to have sensitive conversations with both clients and each other. And we have a nice conference room there that is sufficient for the staff to meet, but anything beyond that, it's just too small. I mean, let's see, I tried to jot down, I mean, it's used for all sorts of things now, from putting stamps on our mailings and putting bags of groceries together. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of different uses for that room right now. And I think I guess my opinion is that we need at least one more in that, what I would call the office complex. Can't, somebody really wanted to get hold of me at the wrong time. And I guess that, I mean, there's a few little details more about the store. Again, a lot of storage issues and conference room size, but that's about all that I have. I can talk to anyone else?
That's about half my list, Guido.
Good.
I want to add on to the parking, as far as, we have 3 buses right now. So we'd also have to have them come close to the building to pick up, drop off, along with the other handicap places. On how you're going to arrange that down there, I don't know. Will we still have an electronic billboard for like upcoming events outside or wherever you want to put that?
Oh, you mean outside the building or right when you come inside the building of programs that are offered that day or
Yeah, well, right now we have one down at the bottom of the driveway. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know where you put it.
But you're talking about something outside the
Is it
building.
better to have it outside that people can see it better? I mean, and then I don't know if we need some sort of a billboard inside, just a bulletin board type thing inside for people to put things on. I don't know. But we do need electronic billboard for upcoming events.
Okay.
Every place we went to, storage. Everybody needs a lot of storage. As far as separate rooms, one of the rooms that impressed us when we were by was having a separate pool table room. That it was all glass in the front with glass doors. So it was open, but it wasn't. It was separate, and that was impressive to us when we saw that.
That was a pool room?
The pool
Yeah,
tables.
no,
We
I'm
have
just
two.
repeating to make sure the
Yeah, we
audience
have
hears that.
2 regulation-sized pool tables. So it really should be in a separate room, but I like the effect of all glass in the front of it with 2 glass doors. That impressed us. And, there's a few other rooms that should be separate as well, like, for the nurse. And there's, they also had a separate game room, didn't they?
I was just gonna mention that,
Separate
yeah.
game, checkers, chess, whatever. Various games in one room, separate. Oh, sorry, I can't talk all over my hands.
And they had bingo in
Yeah,
there as
bingo.
well. And they could play cards. That was really nice to have a separate room just to do that stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't, bingo's been banned in most of our senior centers.
Really?
That's really funny that you mentioned it, yeah. That not for, just because there's a stigma about going to play bingo, I think.
All the
We'll
senior
put it,
centers have
it's,
them.
pardon me?
All the senior centers that I've been to have them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
One of the other places we went to, they had some benches outside, a couple of maybe like an exercise room or whatever, and they thought that was helpful to have a bench so people sit down maybe to put their other sneakers on or whatever outside the exercise room. Flooring was another issue. What was the flooring that, they didn't like carpet, right?
That was not.
But what was the type of flooring they wanted? It was a special flooring that they preferred, but they didn't like carpet
Maybe a laminate.
in the rooms. Something easy to clean.
And movable easily with walkers
Yeah,
and things like that.
durable, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure everybody hears, the comment you made before the carpet was on your program. Before the carpet comment, I
Oh,
don't
yes,
think
it was
everybody
one of
heard
the-
what that
It was either
was.
Northborough or Marlborough that mentioned it, the senior center.
Okay.
They didn't, they had carpet, but they didn't like it,
It was Northborough.
basically.
Because Marlborough was all
Um,
carpet.
Right.
What is it? Joint Board accommodating buses. handicap places are we allowed?
Can I
can't
get
hear
you to
you,
speak in the
Diane.
microphone?
Talk
We
into the
can't,
mic. We
Oh.
can't hear you.
Is this on? Not used to using
you
these
have to
things.
get up close to the.
How many handicap places are we allowed for that building? Is so many, according to the square footage of the building, you have so many handicap places, is that how that works?
There will be a
Handicap parking
certain number of handicap spaces required by code, and I don't know if what's there today would meet the requirement for what your program is. So we'll have to do that analysis, and
Yeah.
there's no reason you can't have more
Right.
than is required by code.
And like Guido said,
Good.
that we need them next to the building, they can't be,
Yeah, I think there's I mean, we'll have to study that, because right now, there's no parking in front of the building. There's
right,
a
yeah.
fire lane and drive aisle in front of the building, so that's something that the town will have to, again, study with the ownership of the shopping area. That's a bigger issue that we wouldn't be able to necessarily promise you on. I mean, I understand the issue that, in generally, you don't want to have to go more than 125 feet from your car to the front door for a good portion of your patrons, because not everybody's in a wheelchair, but not everybody is totally mobile, and that's an issue to be looked at that site.
Okay. Whoever else wants to speak?
Hi, I'm Bob. I guess the one that comes to mind is, having been participating in the exercise programs as our current senior centers, is a concrete floor. And principally, what we would like to have is, and I think this has already addressed, is a wooden floor for any of the exercise programs that we have. And I'm guessing that that's going to be on the second floor, shared with recreation. So I guess it'd be helpful to understand how the senior center activities and the recreation department activities merge and exist together, because I have no idea how that works.
Well, there are 2 rooms on the second floor that are exercise rooms that are there, and they both have what's called a sprung floor, so it's better for exactly what you're saying. You're not jumping up and down or exercising on a concrete floor. Whether there's another space down on the senior center level for exercise is another question. Oftentimes when we have a shared facility, the senior center might have one small space that's for more passive exercise, like, I mean, not necessarily just Zumba, but chair yoga and those types of things that wouldn't typically be done in an upstairs, more high-intensity exercise room. But since there are 2 rooms upstairs, there's plenty of space to accommodate that program upstairs. So one way or the other, it'll either be 2 rooms upstairs and 1 down, or we'll figure that out. But
Well, as long as the exercise facility, whichever floor it's on, it really needs a wooden floor, because elderly people just don't have a good time exercising on concrete floors.
Exactly, yeah. So you're not adverse to going upstairs to get to that room?
No, I don't think so. That was one thing I was coming to mind.
Might I follow up on that?
Yeah, sure.
Certainly.
Just in that regard, the upstairs there's a basketball court up there in particular, and I know we talked about possibly having that also striped for pickleball. But I've had several people in town mention that when it was the Steinmark downstairs, they could hear the basketballs pounding on the floor up above. So one of the things we'd certainly want to make sure is considered is some noise reduction, maybe some insulation on the ceiling of the downstairs to try to minimize any that kind of distractions.
It's interesting, oh,
I have a question. I think when we went on the tour, where is the elevator, or where is it going to be?
Well, right now, the elevators, if you look at the front of the building and where you used to go into the ground floor, the elevator's on the far right corner. So it's as far from the entry to the senior space as it could be, or that existing door. It's possible that we relocate the main entry and consolidate both recreation and the senior area, senior center, at that other entry, and that might be more conducive to getting handicap parking by the front door. That's an option that we'll look at. Or it may be that you have to add another elevator into the building to facilitate it, so you don't have to walk half a block to get to an elevator from the front door of the senior center. So there'll actually be a series of, 3 alternatives looking at exactly what you're asking. Where's the best place to put the entry and the elevator? How much does that cost? Is it worth it for the different costs? And we'll bring that to the Council on Aging and other groups to look at and answer that problem, that question with a real solution at hand. But it's one of the big questions of the design.
Especially to get to the second floor if you want to do activities up there and you're coming in through the front door.
Exactly, yeah.
That's one
So
problem.
it may well be that it's best to put another elevator in the building.
Another question, a lot of people who have talked to me want more rooms so that there can be more activities, more in the craft, art, photography area. There's a lot of exercise type stuff, but a lot of people, and I think the original survey that was ever done also asked for more arts, crafts type things. So they're asking to have enough small individual rooms for the seniors that they can have more of the activities that some people are interested in. And I know that was on the first survey that we filled out 2 years ago, maybe? And one minor detail, I don't know if it's in your purview. I went to the ladies' room here. There's no grab bar in the handicap bathroom. I am asking that grab bars go into your handicap bathrooms, just as a point of information, because I am handicapped.
Actually, I think they should be in all the bathrooms.
That would be
Because
helpful.
Because we are getting older. I have them in I've had them for years in my.
I do too, and they're
in
not
my
that
bathroom.
expensive.
No.
I put them in when I moved here 2 years ago, cost me peanuts.
But for safety reasons, I think it's a good idea because somebody could be in the bathroom and lose their balance. And what do they have to grab onto? It
I don't know
does make
whose
it a little
purview that
safer.
is.
Well, brings up a question. Should every bathroom be a private bathroom, or do you want to have group bathrooms? Sudbury Community Center doesn't have any common bathrooms. Every bathroom is about the size of the one you use here, but handicapped accessible, and then half of them have automatic doors on them, so you don't have to open them. And they can also have a companion if you need a companion in the restroom. So it's a lot easier to get those rails if you have private bathrooms than if you have a gang bathroom, because those little stalls aren't very conducive to putting handrails in. So it's not a very fun topic to discuss, but it is
But a necessary one.
a topic to
necessity.
consider going forward, because it's takes up a lot different space than how you design the building.
Well, it's food for thought.
But more and more places are doing it, because the advantage too is that you don't have 5 men and 5 women. You have 10 bathrooms, and
Right. I've been
They're
where they're
gender-
unisex.
gender neutral,
Yes.
yeah.
Especially since the men's room never have a line.
What did you?
all right. So you want to go? I did a terrible job of not introducing Nancy and Jeremy. They're on our team.
Well, we met them on the,
Yes, on the
Yeah.
tour.
met them on the tour.
So,
Yeah, I'm Paula. I know Guido and Diane and even Marilyn talked about very practical things. I'd like to talk a little bit about the fluff, if you will. Not talking about structure and everything, just talking about when you walk in to the senior center, or whatever we're calling it. We need a welcoming feel to it, and I did get that at Northborough. Yeah. Marlborough was really good, but it seemed like an awful big space and a lot of extra space that they could use for something else. But it was quite large. But in welcoming, in meaning that when you walk in, you feel like you're comfortable and you would want to be there. And I think the room when you walk into it is what you might have been talking about in Falmouth, where they play cards, and it's a game room, more or less, or a meeting room, or gathering room, as opposed to being, for crafts and that kind of thing. I don't think they do that. And did you get that impression in that room? Lounge, thank you, lounge, there you go. So that, just for the feel of walking in was something that struck me. And I think that particular senior center that we went to was my favorite, the one in Northborough, because it has, I think, what we're kind of looking for. And the director was very open about saying what didn't work for them, which off the top of my head I don't know at the moment, but I think that we could use a lot of the information from there. It had separate rooms, it had a large multi-purpose room that had the doors in between, and she did suggest that they have to manually open these doors, and to get the automatic kind of thing would be really handy as well. So, and the kitchen was a very good size, and they do have the cafe. It's a lunch. I don't know if they have it all day, but I think it's just a lunch, and it was run very well, and it was really nice. We ate in there, so that kind of struck me. The other two that I think that we don't have to really address as much is the one that was like an old school, and the other one was a former mansion, and it just seemed very disjointed with going to, this will be a lot more, better flow.
Yeah.
A better flow. And one of my, of course, things is the exercise, and I really appreciate that the wooden floors, it has been mentioned. But right now we're sharing, we could be doing a strength and balance class with people playing Rummy Cube, with people eating meals, with the pool tables there. So separation of that is, I know the point has already been made many times, but it's pretty important to the functionality. Now, whether we use the upstairs for exercise, that's great too. Whatever, I don't know what the plan was. I guess I thought once the downstairs was done, that we wouldn't necessarily be using the upstairs, but I don't know what do you know, Kim?
No, I think that's what part of today is to hear what your interest is.
Okay.
And I think if there's an interest in having some exercise space downstairs, and then there is additional space maybe for other activities upstairs, I think that's the point. If you want and value having dedicated exercise space, that this is your opportunity to.
I liked what you had said about the more maybe active classes, maybe being in the existing space upstairs, and then having a room or even two rooms for chair yoga or strength and balance, and that you use chairs for. But yeah, that's pretty important, I think. And I think that the space that we're going to have is going to make a big difference in exposure to have people actually go and participate. Because right now, we're not really, people don't even know where the senior center is half the time. But I think part of the idea of, we service certainly people in need, we service, elderly in all kinds of ways and lots of programs, but I think there's a lot of people in town that think that there's not going to be anything for them, but I think that there's a lot of vibrant seniors that could really enjoy the space. So I don't know if I'm saying anything, but
Since you are on the exercise, have you thought of anything about the pool, the swimming pool on the second floor?
have I thought anything about it?
Is it of any interest to seniors to have a warm water
I
exercise?
think it could be, yes. I think it definitely could be. I think that, I did see it when it was Boston Sports Club, and my grandchildren were younger then, and they had like a family swim on, I don't know, Saturdays, Sundays, whatever day it was. And it was really nice. So I think there's been talk about seniors with their grandchildren or things like that. But I also think that like a water aerobics class would be great, you know, because especially when sometimes, you know, knees and joints and all that, water obviously is better to exercise in. So yes, I think it could be very, very
It is my
useful.
understanding that there will be dedicated times for the youth so that we are not
Right,
interfering
well, I
or
think that-
being tripped
yeah.
by children running around and things like that. I mean, I think we need to give a lot of consideration to that. And the room divider, I would strongly recommend that it be electronic,
Yep.
so that nobody is trying to push
Yeah, they're
those
always
heavy
electronic.
panels apart. And I'd like to give Nancy an opportunity to share.
I was gonna just mention about the pool. Now, what is the status of the pool at this point in time there? Have they've drained it? Are they checking it out to see, if there's any problems with the pool?
We've had someone in there and looked at it, and there's a report. So the pool hasn't been in use for about a year.
Right.
And what happens to pool equipment when it's not used is it tends to rust a little bit. So we can't open up the filters and things like that and see how it is, but it's most likely that some of the equipment, like the pumps, will probably have to be replaced because they'll be frozen with rust by the time. And then that pool is got a liner in it, and the liner has a leak in it, so there's water between the concrete pool tank and the liner itself. But replacing the liner is not a big problem, and what's interesting is there's no water coming down to the first floor, so the concrete pool shell is holding everything in, and it's just the liner that's leaked, so that's not catastrophic. So I think that it's a sort of somewhat in between depth. If we were to keep the pool, I think our recommendation would be to make it a little bit shallower. It's 4 foot something deep, and it would be better to be 3'6" deep for water aerobics and for teaching kids how to swim and teaching adults how to swim. So one of the beauties of the pool is it would be with the liner. We have to replace the liner. You could make it a little bit shallower, and it would make it more usable, and then you could raise the temperature in the pool as well, which would be beneficial to kids learning to swim and seniors exercising.
I like the idea of the water aerobics. I used to do that years ago, and it's a great way to exercise.
Yep.
It really, really is. So I'd like to see something like that happen.
Darrell, would you like to share your thoughts?
I wasn't able to go on the tour because of other commitments, but the one thing, I have been to several senior centers in the area, and the one thing that we don't have, that most senior centers do have, is a multiple number of rooms for different activities, as has been mentioned 1,000 times here. And you have to have space that isolates people so they aren't interrupted and so they aren't interruptive. And so that's the biggest thing. Exercise areas, yes. You know, the Worcester Senior Center I go to frequently, and I've been associated with it for many, many years. And I'm impressed by the number of rooms they do have and the separation of activities. And I think it's very important to have that availability.
That's what Northborough also
Yeah.
has, a lot of separate rooms,
Yeah.
different activities at the same time.
You know, they don't need to be huge rooms,
No,
but
they're not.
they just need to be separations.
Right. I had another point that they had made. In some of them, when you walked in, you had the registration desk right there inside the door. And they had mentioned that if they had to do it over again, they would not have it as close to the doors, because what was happening is when people were coming in to register for programs, they were doing it there as well as other people just coming in to talk. So they said if you can separate that further away from the entrance, that would be a good thing.
Okay.
As long as it was in an area that was, had exposure to it, because that's the whole point.
Exactly.
To have people logging in when they come in.
Exactly, yeah.
It helps with statistics and, you know, knowing what's going on.
Helps
and
with
it
your
connects
You
grants.
want to be
people
able
with
to
the
monitor
class.
that.
The class gets
Hmm?
canceled.
You want to be able to monitor.
Right, like we do at the
Yeah.
senior center, you have to log in. But I'm just talking about, there was a lot of
Yes.
commotion.
I
of-
think that was in, yeah,
I think that was in,
Marlboro, I think.
yeah, I think it was in Marlboro, and they just said that they thought that you should kind of back it up a little
You,
bit.
you,
It was
um,
also out in
Was it in Hudson or Westford?
Westford.
Westford,
Thank
okay.
you. Yeah.
you were saying, senior
Issued
center,
with the
or
base.
whatever we're gonna call this.
Yeah, whatever we're
What are you gonna call this?
What are we gonna call it?
It would be interesting because it does set the tone somewhat. Center for Active Living is different than a senior center.
I would like to ask that the town consider having a full-time custodian at the senior center, this new site. It's a much bigger area, and I think that there will be an increased need to have the sexton there. And in Northborough, they made the comment that they serve about 100 people a day. And I think that we're going to have the capability and the desire to have more than 100 people
Oh, you'll
a
serve
day.
way more than 100.
Yes,
That'll be,
exactly.
that's not a high number.
Second elevator by the back entrance might not be a bad idea. Whatever. I mean, you are the experts. We're just the worker bees, you might say. But we want people to feel welcomed, that it's their center. And we do have a Sunshine Cafe, and I would like to see if there's a possibility that the Sunshine Cafe program could be expanded so that people are not feeling restricted in being at the senior center. It, to me, is a very important program, and I would like to see it expand and grow to the very best of its capabilities.
In space that can be separated. In space that can be separated.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Linda?
Yeah.
I'd
And-
also like to put a plug in for an on-site chef. That's the difference with the Northborough cafeteria food. She's there all the time, every day. They
Hopkinton
only
has
serve
one also.
12 to 1, but she is in charge every day. They have a regular menu, but they have specials every day, different specials every day. And everyone who's ever been there comments on their food. So whoever wants to hear that suggestion. Tim.
They also do an evening dinner.
They do, a bistro. I
Well,
think they call it bistro for a name. but they do an evening dinner.
with it's a nice menu.
Yeah.
But I mean, we do the same thing. You have that ability this month of July and August. Alma has meals and activities and entertainment every Tuesday night.
Yeah, but that's in the summer. I'm saying Northborough has a chef all year round.
Right, but if we had a bigger facility, this is something I think we could consider offering also. And I'm not looking at you, Guido. Guido is one of our two chefs,
No, I didn't say that. I help out in the kitchen.
but, you
If
know,
you cook, I'll hire you.
Actually, what impressed me at the Northborough cafeteria, we got waited on. What impressed me with the Northborough cafeteria was we got waited on.
Yes.
right.
It was amazing to me.
By whom?
We got waited on.
By whom?
Staff, they
Really?
had people
Yeah,
as
they
wait-
wait
Well,
on you
it's
there.
They would
cafeteria
bring-
style. You
would
order,
bring
you
the
get a
food
number,
to
you
you.
put it on your table, and then they bring it to you.
We had numbers. They had a good system.
Yeah, and it was,
It was a great system.
yeah.
We had numbers, ordered our food, we got a number, and then it would be brought to our table.
And one of the servers was and is a special needs person.
Yes,
And she did an awesome job.
yes.
The person who runs the cafe at the Worcester Senior Center is a needy person. It's a Down syndrome person.
Wow, nice.
You know, I mean, that is certainly something to,
And he runs the whole cafe.
Very good.
Kathy, did you wish to have an opportunity to speak?
Well, I have not been able to be at many meetings this summer, so I haven't really done anything at all very useful. But I think it's wonderful. I think we're ready to go. It sounds as if a lot of thinking has been put into this, and people are ready to charge, which is nice to see. And I hope I can do this.
Absolutely. Being downtown, we're not trying to get up Main Street at 5 o'clock, which is, ooh, you know.
Depends where you live.
But,
I do have another question. What's the proposal for signage?
You mean on the outside of the building to identify
Outside of
this?
the building, out by the road?
Well,
How are people going to know where the senior center is?
yeah, I don't know what the signage rules for the center are, but I'm sure that there's, used to be a Boston Sports Club and a, whatever, the first floor,
Steinmetz.
you know, so, definitely. I think you got a point, you know, if you're driving by, it's the furthest building from the road,
Yeah.
so how do you know it's back there?
Can we go back to what the current trend is in naming the senior center? It's probably not senior
Or the
center.
building.
You said something and I don't remember.
Well, a lot of people are using the term Center for Active Living, which is a CAL. And it's not just around here, it's in other states as well. So you have Newton is New Cal, and Reading is Recal, and
We'd be West Cal.
and Sandwich is SCal.
What's Falmouth?
Falmouth, I can't remember. That's it's a name.
Well, one thing is Newton did start out with New Cal as the name, but then they changed it to the Cooper Center for Active Living. So I don't know if they call it Cooper Cal now, but they decided to name it for an individual that had some significance, so that
But
is a
the-
possibility as well.
Nice phrase.
I figured it wasn't senior center.
That's correct, and I think that, I mean, I was sort of looking for aspirational ideas, you know. Sometimes the name reflects how you think about it, and
Yes.
I like to think about these as not necessarily, you know, you don't call a school a elementary school, they're about age groups, and it's more general, so I'm trying to find the right way to the right terminology for this project. Every time I put a slideshow together, I can't figure out what to call it.
I love Center for Active Living. I had never heard that before. It's terrific.
Yeah.
A great phrase.
That's good. Then my grandson can't say, you going to the senior center?
Yeah. You said welcoming environment to come into, and this is always an interesting thing, because I think there's two things about welcoming. One is, do you feel welcoming? It doesn't necessarily have to do with the aesthetics of the space, but sometimes it
True.
does come into play what the aesthetics are. So we have this center in Cohasset, which is pretty conservative center and very conservative lobby, but colorful and open and glass-like. And we had another group come in that we thought would just love this center, but they happened to go to another one of our projects, and next to the Andover Senior Center is the Andover Youth Center, and they went into that and said, this is the lobby that we want in our Cal in middle of Maine. So it's always helpful to have a conversation about what aesthetics are, because who would have thought that they wanted something that radical? But they thought, you know, you build a building, you spend this amount of money on a project with the recreation, it's a 60,000 square foot building. It's not going anywhere for the next 50 to 100 years. It's going to be there. So think about it, not just for us today, but think about it for the next and the next and the next, how it can be used and adapted over time. And that's sort of what the seniors said. We don't want a senior center. We like it to be youthful and exuberant. Everybody's different. So that's one of the things that we'll have to get to. If the project gets approved, you'll get into this issue of aesthetics. So I think there's two, not having that front desk right where you come in, but having that front desk be close enough that you can get briefed, but you're not blocking
Right.
everybody else from getting in the
Right.
building.
Yep.
Another little tip from this is always put the reception desk on the right side of the entry, because people coming out are on the left side, and that's another log jam you get into. So
Very true. Yeah. Very true.
Are
Couple
those
of the,
floors
We
laminate
bump into
floors?
each other.
pardon me?
Are those floors laminate floors?
Those are laminate floors, yeah.
Okay.
And they make, well, this is Situate's floor. That's a laminate, that's a cushioned laminate. So you can have your chairs on it and they're not wobbling, but it's not as hard as a typical laminate. So it's a nice compromise.
So it's
to it.
probably a good choice.
Yeah. I mean, here, this is another, Alicia knows this. This is a kitchen that her firm and ours did, and it's very nice, very modern, but they don't cook meals. They only set up Meals and Wheels to go out to the environment and sell snacks out that window. So, there's a lot of different ways to do kitchens in these buildings.
if I may address the couple of the senior centers had a dedicated small room as a gift shop.
Yeah.
And that might be something that the Friends of the Westborough Senior Center might be willing to consider offering.
Supporters.
We do have a fair coming up in November, and then, things that don't sell necessarily that day either have to be packed away or taken back to the home of the person that knitted or crocheted or baked it, whatever. I think it would be nice to have a small area with a gift shop. It will mean that somebody has to be present each day to But I think with the Friends of the Senior Center, that we may get enough people to say, yes, I will help, that it could happen. And it isn't limited just to the Friends. Anybody sitting in this room can.
It doesn't even have to be every day either.
Right.
Right.
Couple days a week.
But it would be nice to have that at least considered at this point. There was another, I think it was Hudson, that said they do not allow at this time private group functions.
What is that?
And they do have a second janitor, sexton, whatever, that if tables need to be set up for a program on Wednesday, this gentleman works a few hours, evening shift, you might say, and that's part of his responsibility, is to set up the chairs. And I think to an issue that Guido addressed in the very beginning, some people don't like the current chairs at the social events at the senior center. And it's very easy to go over and grab what they want and change it out for another chair, but when the program is over, guess what? The chair remains there. The people that are helping with the cleanup then have to cut those chairs back. And it would be very nice to have the chairs out of sight, we might say.
Be nice to have new chairs that are not so uncomfortable.
Well,
They're hard. That's why people swap them out.
whatever,
Folding ones? Yeah.
you know, bring a cushion.
And also chairs with
Yes.
handles.
But they
We
stack
need chairs
easily.
with arms.
It's, yes, I will admit,
They're good for
People
it's
hate them.
easier to get out of a chair for many of us with the arms to help lift the old body up. So that might be,
Well, one of the places we went to, they had some with arms and some
Yes.
without.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It-
exactly.
Some people don't want the arms for
Exactly.
Right.
different reasons.
Mhm.
And some people want tables that are easy to move around the room and fold up and put away. And usually those tables are pretty light, and when you lean on it to stand up, they fall over. So we get the heavyweight tables that take people, and then people complain that they're too heavy. So there's a lot of compromises on the furniture front. But when we get there, furniture companies will bring the chairs in, and you can try them out and pick the right one.
We can
And then
good idea, very good. But, does anybody else want to add to our discussion? Dennis? Okay.
I have a question. You talked about the Sunshine Cafe.
Yes.
What exactly is that, and how many people? I don't know. Are you familiar with it?
It's the name of our memory cafe
Okay.
that we do for caregivers and their loved ones who have dementia, Alzheimer's, any kind of that. That you can find them in most every senior center around these days.
Basically a small room, we have some quiet kind of music, serve some snacks. It's just a small, comfortable area.
I do think that with society in general and opening this building up to the community, we may find that the attendance at the Sunshine Cafe is going to
there's a couple of those rooms, and one of the theories that people have been working on is to set those rooms up in period settings so they look sort of 1950s. And when you have Alzheimer's or dementia, the long-term memories are the ones that go last.
Right.
So now they're expanding that idea to full senior care facilities so that they look a little like that Truman movie with, or, you know, a little weird, but the nostalgia is what excites the brain of that. So
Yeah,
the,
good point.
instead of quiet music, one group had an Elvis impersonator come in, and boy, was that popular.
We had a Frank Sinatra
There you go.
there not long ago, yeah.
And some of the seniors that are in this situation still like to dance.
Yes.
And that's a great thing to see.
Well,
They're
I think-
having a good time. They're happy. There's music and this area. That's why I said I don't think we need small room. We need adequate space to allow for,
And it doesn't necessarily need to be a room dedicated solely to that purpose,
right,
No,
Right.
but it has to be adaptable for other
Right.
purposes.
right,
I think
exactly.
this is
That's
the-
a great point.
One of the great things about these programs, that for years, people thought that senior centers were, you go and you go play bingo. I don't mean to, but they didn't have any value. And in the last 20 years, they've evolved so that someone that has Alzheimer's doesn't all of a sudden get Alzheimer's and have to go to assisted living. There's a process that goes on, and the senior center is acting as a linchpin in that development and allowing your citizens in Westborough or Northborough or Hudson to live in the community longer than they might have. So a school raises adults in the community, and a senior center helps to transition older adults to different parts of their lives. It's a value not only for the seniors, but it's a value to their neighbors and other folks in the community. And I think that what we're finding is there's more and more value of the building, and it's really important for us as a group to express these values, because the respite system, the memory cafe, it has not only a benefit for the seniors, but the offspring that are taking care of the seniors, or, you know, it's just, it's a real important function that's going on that I don't think people completely appreciate all the benefits of the building. So part of our mission here is to convince everybody in Westborough how important the building is to them. And one thing I'm taking away from the meeting today is I think there's a sentiment of excitement about having the recreation programs upstairs and being able to cater, as you mentioned, to a younger audience that really wants to do certain programs versus maybe an older audience that wants a fitness program part of the senior center and not have to go upstairs. So I think
we currently have a pretty great senior center. We do great things up there to the very best of our ability. We have the buses that will take wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs for people that need to use them. I do think the staff up there right now is phenomenal. And I think we have a potential to see even more growth when we come to our new facility.
well, we met the staff, now we met you, and I think we got our homework in front of us to come up with some options for you to consider and decide which way makes the most sense for the community. So thank you. Unless there are other comments.
There
No.
are very good comments from everyone. It's very useful, and
Oh, good.
I really enjoyed hearing hearing that. I can't wait to make it happen.
And you've given up your time. This is the second time that
That's right.
This is our job.
they have met with us, and we appreciate it. It is appreciated. And now tonight, Joel, thank you for being here.
Oh, great, thank you, yep.
May I?
Yes, absolutely.
Just one thing I'd like to remind and ask the council, if you can help us to get the word out that the next opportunity for community engagement, there are actually 2 opportunities. There is a survey that is live and on the town's website. There are also paper copies available at the senior center and at the library. But we're encouraging as many people who, I think we have a good number, but we want to really build that, hear more feedback through the survey. And then we have 2 community engagement sessions scheduled on July 30th. The one at 2 p.m. will be held at the senior center. And this is really, anyone is welcome, but we really are focusing this on hearing from seniors input on the design and what they hope to see in the building. And then at 6 p.m. back here in Memorial Hall at Town Hall, there will be another one that's focused on general needs and input. People are certainly welcome to attend both, but those are next Tuesday, July 30th, 2 p.m. at the Senior Center, 6 p.m. here in Memorial Hall at Town Hall. So hopefully you can spread the word, invite folks to attend. We'd love to have folks who aren't necessarily currently participating in programs that are offered at the senior center or the rec center. We've talked a lot about this as an opportunity to get broad input and hopefully increase participation once that building is open. But thank you.
Can the survey be filled out with paper and pen? Or does it have to be
No,
online?
yeah, I meant it's available at the library and at the senior center in paper copy.
But
So
do you fill it out on paper copy? Does it have to be online?
no,
Okay.
no. That's why we wanted to make sure there were options, and we thought library and senior center are the 2 places that we identified. Certainly, if someone were able to have a friend or a family member print it for them, you could fill it out. That might be a little, however you can do it. If you need any assistance through my office, the town manager's office, that's 508-366-3030. If anyone's having trouble, we're happy to help and figure out a way to get people paper copies if they
I
need
did
it.
take a copy, but it does say to fill it out online, so it could be a bit,
Yeah,
they may not realize they
Right.
don't need to.
I think there's signage where people are picking them up, and they can be filled out and returned at the senior center or the library.
Kim, I filled it out this morning, and there's one question that says, check all
Yes.
that apply, and it
We're aware.
doesn't work.
So
You're aware
question
of that?
10, it asks about, unfortunately, if we correct that, we risk losing data that we've already collected. It is an error. It's a question asking, I think there's 4 or 5 options, so my recommendation would be for people to pick their top priority, or their top, it's what recreation programming they use. So unfortunately, I think we've had over 500 folks fill it out, and it only came to our attention last night, so hopefully it hasn't been a real problem for folks, but at this point, I think we're going to leave it and not lose the data that we have.
If you fill out the paper copy, you could put all that apply, right?
That's true.
I'm remiss, so we have the in-person sessions next Tuesday, August 5th. We will host a remote session, so if people are away on vacation or they have issues getting to either of the other sessions, we will have more information on that on the website with a link so that people can join us remotely.
And what's the schedule after that? Then once these 4 sessions?
We're hoping to have alternatives presented the last week in August, around the 20th, 21st. Joel mentioned today, they're tasked with developing 3 alternatives. So that'll help us narrow down before they continue to do more in-depth work on a design. But we expect the select board is meeting Tuesday, August 20th.
We're targeting that for a preview and then some additional follow-up meetings. So we would expect to come back to you that week and get some additional feedback, reaction. As Joel mentioned, what do you like about this versus that? So we can narrow the focus.
Is there any other conversation to come before this meeting? If not, I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Thank you.
She gave the motion and I seconded it.